Verity.
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 It's Verity. Brought to you by Prodigy.
Ode to Joy, inspired by the poem Ode, written in the late 18th century by Friedrich Schiller, and the melody has inspired millions throughout the year demonstrators in Chile saying Ode to Joy during demonstration against the Finnish dictatorship. Chinese students broadcasted at Tiananmen Square. Leonard Bernstein led the performance on Christmas Day after the fall of Berlin Wall. Okay guys, enough with the history. So basically, Ode to Joy is a tune about peace. But you guys must be a little bit confused on why in the world would I talk about the piece of a classical music. So hi, it's me Sarah and welcome back to another segment of the Yellow Diary. In today's episode, we will talk about the importance of having positivity and also the need of negativity in our life so that we can reach the perfect balance in communication and our lifestyle. Okay, first of all, what the heck is positivity and why should I care? Well, positivity get a bad rap, Sometimes it's known for always trying to be happy and be joyful and optimistic through every single thing that comes your way. When the reality, it is not all sunshine and rainbow. Positivity is about building mental and social resources by experiencing positive emotion and some negative emotions. And by doing that and going through that help us to leverage good time and get through hard time. So, without positivity, we would get stuck in a dark, deep downward spiral. We would feel hopeless, so we need positivity to keep us moving through life. And sometimes that means we will sit in a difficult time to figure out what they're telling us, where should we go from here, but we don't want to sit in darkness. I guess negativity is a part of positivity and it's helpful, but too much of it turns into a hopeless experience. If you're a fan of Beatles, then you will know what I'm saying. I'm a fan of Paul McCartney. He has always been my favorite Beatle, mainly because he was so positive all the time. He wrote a song in the 60s and played for the John, and the lyric went, "I've got to admit, it's getting better all the time." Then Lennon added one lyric to the song. Then it kinda ruined the song, but why did John have to ruin that song? Truly, if you ask me now, I don't know, did he ruin it? I think we all need to allow for a different emotional experience in life. And sometimes life does feel like it couldn't get much worse. And then the last thing that the person needs is a dose of super duper positive happiness. So, we need to meet people where they are, and I think there's always two sides of every paradigm and every story. There's a concept that I read about positivity, which is a concept of positivity using an abacus and life domains. I actually recently started thinking about how can I explain what positivity can look like in real life for people. And so this is a vision of abacus come to mind. We use an abacus typically is known for mathematics and Russian state in China. But one of the things we can do with an abacus is use each line on the abacus instead of 1 and tens and hundred and thousand. We can use each line on the abacus to represent an area of our life, if you will. Area of our life like finance or health or relationship or professional career, those are all a different area or different life domains, of our life. And not necessarily are they all gonna have high rating. Some might have rate like 3 out of 10 and some might rate like 7 out of 10. And so you could use an abacus to represent every single life domain and give it a rating. And then using some strategy technique from positivity, you could look at those areas of your life that are doing well and then ask them, why is it going well in this area? How can I replicate something that are going well in this area to some area of my life that aren't going so well? And also at the same time, looking at areas that aren't going so well and going what's going wrong there and Why and what can I change in those areas to make them more like areas that I rated high? Okay, there's an exercise that we can do to practice, which is shares and resonate. This exercise was created with my therapist actually, and I was actually using it in my daily life, which worked really well because what it did was it helped people start to recognize the emotion that are involved in life. Because that's what we use when we are rating our life. We're thinking out of emotional perspective, how we're rating the aspect of our life. So one of the way that we can sort of get comfortable with the uncomfortableness of talking about emotion and leading with emotion and thinking through emotion is this sharing and resonating. So basically, what happened, and it all happened all the time because sometimes we don't realize it. Somebody is sharing a story, and instead of just listening, and just focus on listening, you should listen, but also focus on how you can resonate with their story. So every time somebody resonates with someone else's story, they're just connecting on an emotional level of something in their story. And it is always personal. So imagine if I were to share a story with you about frustration that I had on the drive home yesterday, and there was this driver who cut me off, blah blah blah. And on that situation, are you listening to my story at the time, or are you thinking of a time where that happened to you, and maybe another time you might have been the offending driver, that kind of thing? So yeah, the answer is almost both. So you do have to listen to be able to resonate, so it take care of the listening piece already. And then the resonating piece build empathy and trust and compassion in that communication. So right now, I'm gonna play a short clip from Texas' own Breen Brown on empathy. For me, this is very powerful stuff. Then you gotta listen to this.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So there's a couple of things I take away from that clip. First thing is, the lovely thing actually is that we are all wired for empathy. Often I get people in conversation telling me you are either empathetic or you're not. But the truth is, we all have that bone and the capacity and the brain connection to be empathetic. And the reason why we know that is because of exactly what she's saying. We often want to fix things for people, and sometimes we go to fix a solution first. But what we need is we need to do is feel first. And the fact of matter, we all feel emotion whether we're aware of it or not. So when we connect our emotion, it allows us to connect with other, and that's what she's saying. So my motto is to feel it before we fix it. It doesn't mean we never fix it, but let it feel first, and So I guess that's all for today's segment. Thank you for spending your time leaning your ear on today's segment, which is cracking the book of positivism. If you like what you hear throughout this episode, I'm hoping you to subscribe to this yellow diary to keep receive update automatically. Thank you. Bye.